Bueno, buenos días a todos. Lo primero, agradecer.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, let me thank you for your attendance, especially all the speakers coming to our 11th ENISE conference, and more specifically to this panel where we will be discussing the future of cybersecurity based on the use of IA. Most of you know already that cybersecurity had to be ahead of its time, and especially to try to sort out the evolution of all different techniques that attackers use, and that has led to a series of challenges for the evolution. When looking back, we can realize there are several clear examples where antivirus companies in the past were based on specific signature-based detection, detecting malware, and different malware trends means that now we have a more heuristic approach where we have it based on behavior sharing. As for network traffic in the past, for attack detection, it was based on signatures as well that were very specific, that might have a suspicious contents. Now the information that we have and the attacks that are much more sophisticated mean that we also have the abnormality-based traffic analysis or pattern detection analysis. Another example where cybersecurity had to adjust to the new context are the social engineering techniques. In the past, set techniques were based on a speaker or attacker using manual means, and now we've seen the great deployment of those bots where we can deceive the victim, the user, in order to achieve the specific goals. As for the fight against cybercrime, law enforcement had to evolve as well and resort to technology to solve their challenges, detecting fraudulent contents, automated techniques that are necessary in order to fight these malicious contents or fraudulent content, trying to use those techniques such as natural language processing or image recognition that are our new bases that we had to accommodate. Another term that also leads to cybersecurity evolution would be big data as a concept. Currently, we are processing large volumes of information, not just network traffic, but also open source content posted on social media, for which we need to use new techniques in order to have automated processing, storing, and result drawing in order to predict new attack trends or trends to which we need to adjust as cybersecurity. As you can see, for all those examples, new technologies that are based on artificial intelligence are necessary. At this panel, I should like to thank you as experts. You will be sharing your viewpoint, your own personal experience, and your company's experience in tackling and solving all those challenges that have to do with cybersecurity. Without further ado, I give the floor to the real experts on the topic. So we'll start with Juan Santesmases. Welcome. Juan Santesmases is a technical engineer for telecommunications by the University of Madrid, postgraduate in business administration, University of Navarre. He has had different positions throughout his professional life, first as a chief operator in different companies. He's also been partner to Centro in Neovalia, president of Bankia.com tech magazine, and currently he is the cybersecurity advisor Vector at TZ Group. He is a lecturer for the cybersecurity master's degree since June this year. Also general manager at Neovalia. Juan, you have the floor. Thank you very much. I'll discuss 3 questions here. First, we are not Neovalia anymore, but GTI Next Wave. We are the largest wholesaler in Spain. So first, let me share what we see. Not so much for AI, which is a wider concept, but machine learning, which we find is what the market is using now. Basically, what we see is an abundant use of Elasticsearch and the version 5.5 for behavior analysis, pattern identification in a simple way that can be embedded into the warning system. And then in the commercial trade world for brands and companies, we see there is a use of Watson embedded with the Radar as well, Blue Radar, and Pentaho as well, with all other integrated Elasticsearch solutions. If we were to think about the use of machine learning for cybersecurity, I like to clarify that the use of AI and machine learning has some legal limitations that are quite important, and that is that every decision we make that it's based on a machine and that have an impact on citizens needs to be reasonable or provable, meaning that if someone legally sues us and asks why this individual has been sentenced to leave an application, a country, whatever. So if an action is considered a crime, it has to be proven and reasoned, and also needs to have the legal support. It's not enough to say that the machine or the algorithm that is machine learning based decided that that's wrong. So the human element, it is critical here, and we cannot neglect it. So contrary to what the media, what journalists try to force us to believe, where AI will get rid of humans and Skynet is round the corner, at least to defend us from so many things, we should be able to reason. Then, on the other hand, there's something quite important I should like to mention, and that's the difference or what's the purpose of machine learning and what it cannot be used for. It can be used for actions, defensive actions. It is very good at interpreting and searching and identifying patterns, and it has been proven, and it can be used now at the time we are where we have IOCs instead of signatures. IOCs are indicators of compromise that are becoming more and more complex. There are many parameters and features that indicate behavior involved, and so we need to have someone or something helping us at huge data volume to identify real-time patterns, and by using machine learning we can do so. With streaming correlation, if we add machine learning, we can spot abnormalities, behavior abnormalities, and other things real time. And that's perfect, that's helping us out. If joined together with the warning system for the warnings that we want to generate and see some solution measures, that's perfect. That's a high value mechanism for cybersecurity. And again, this is what's been massively used at all the shops with your big data architecture. Add in some, for example, Elasticsearch 5.5. What's not to be used for? Well, it should not be used for planning. I discussed it yesterday with Vicente, and we said it will not throw us the non-identified attack pattern. The villains are using machine learning or AI to identify our own gaps. In the end, identifying patterns in any case, and those can be used to detect our vulnerabilities and carry out actions or plan actions with which they can attack us, and they can use our vulnerabilities again. But with the machine learning, we will not have the planning again. No matter how much we think or Nowadays, it is not being used like that. So we'll be using it in pragmatic terms. That's what we try to deal with in my profession, and so we need to make the most of it to defend ourselves, to identify patterns and abnormalities, and to protect ourselves against them in a defensive attitude. It does not work with offensive activities. Thank you very much, Juan. Oh, something else, nuance here. As for deleting or getting rid of the human component here, it's not just the legal question, but I honestly don't think no matter how much sci-fi and films and movies and all newspaper articles, there are some risks here where maybe a machine learning system is allowed to generate its own algorithm, but then you cannot decipher it. Well, but what about neglecting the interpretation and also human reason? We are so very far away from it, so we cannot believe what we are told. The villains are telling us they use it for the purpose they have for it, but the actions are carried out with planning and strategy, trying to have that military attack, which is human-led. It's not machine-led, but human-led. Thank you, Juan. Next, we will have Enrique Alegre, who is an industrial engineer and also has a PhD in computer science. He's a lecturer in University of León. He's working on transfer and internationalization at the University of León. He's working on artificial vision and machine learning. He's been doing so for 23 years. He's got 160 papers. He's been in different research projects, 16 of them, funding with call for tenders, public and private, and he's been the lead researcher in most of them. He's the lead researcher for the agreement between INCIBE and the University of León for the creation of an IA research group and machine learning research group, and also the computer vision program that is Vision ENET. As Beatriz says, our work is focusing on the use of artificial vision and machine learning. For many years, we were using machine learning in classical terms, but recently we are using the new trend where brings us better possibilities, as we will discuss today at this panel. Let me open up what cybercrime and cybersecurity mean. When we say cybercrime, it's usually narrowed down to intrusions and not much more. But according to the European Commission, cybercrime revolves around three areas. First, against the use of the internet, such as denial of service attacks. Second, that has to do with fraud, online fraud, such as phishing, spoofing, spam, or malware. And the next one, which is large, important, and we're working on it within INCIBE, that is illegal content that is online, focusing mainly on two fields: minor sexual abuse, known in the past as child abuse or child pornography, and then terrorism, such as xenophobia or terrorism. Interpol has similar categories of different types of cybercrime, basically any crimes committed using the internet means. As part of this context, let me refer to what we've done within INCIBE for the last 5 years now in cooperation that we've set up. Things working with machine learning and deep learning. And next we will discuss the future, where to go. In 2011, late 2011, we were part of a SEC project where the national police will be given tools in the fight against child abuse or child pornography. Our role was to have artificial vision modules to recognize objects, faces, textures, to find similar films and pictures. After we started cooperating with INCIBE earlier last year, we've worked on other fields such as processing natural language. There, we've worked on classifying the Tor contents. Tor network, as you know, is anonymous and many criminal activities happen. So we've developed classifiers, models, so that you can find a Tor website and classify it into one of the types or categories, so we can see if there is gun trafficking, child pornography, or drug trafficking contents. We've also worked regarding vision and minor detection or recognition. So this is part of a tool on which INCIBE is working for the police forces. And there's another tool that the police is using to provide an image when they intervene or break into a home to see whether the image has a minor or not, in order to prevent child abuse from happening. I guess most of you remember the well-known WannaCry that happened May this year. With WannaCry, one of the things you might remember is that they asked for a ransom through crypto lockers, and then in cooperation with INCIBE, we developed a tool to see whether a panel was a CryptoLocker panel or not. Like this, by using visual similarities, we could identify whether the Tor panels were CryptoLocker related or not. And so we've developed a tool with which we can see whether a website is similar to another one. That way, we can see whether there's phishing on a given website or URL. We've also worked on object recovery. Maybe you remember, May 2017, Europol called through a call that was Stop Child Abuse, asking people whether they were familiar with some pictures which helped solve cases that had to do with child pornography. That's what we're working on with automated systems for picture recovery, pictures that might be related to child pornography cases. Right now, some of our researchers are working on recognition of child pornography directly, training adult models, and with our cooperation with the police, these are being adapted or adjusted for child pornography, and this is extended to abstracts. This is interesting to make life easier for terrorism police experts. Another application for these in recent years, and there's been quite some research on it, that is spam filtering and detection of domains used as panels in botnet networks, such as command and control, CNC, also catch-ups, breakup. This is where AI is being used. This would be deep learning trained models, detecting traffic incidents or abnormalities, also intrusion detection, malware and fraud detection. So my comment would be, AI is wide in scope, but if we think of AI or specific applications such as those having to do with machine learning and deep learning, all those fields, even for cybersecurity, where we have a large amount of data, can highly benefit from all those techniques, because we can have models, supervised or not, in the fight against crime. Thank you very much, Enrique. Next, we move to Juan González Martinez, who has got a degree from the University of Vigo. He's got over 18 years of experience in security and ICTs for the financial sector, banking sector, health sector, and telecommunication. Currently, he is the CEO for privacy and security at GRADIANT. So, good morning, everyone. First of all, let me thank INCIBE for their kind invitation to be part of this interesting panel with all those speakers. What I'm about to share here is what we are doing now at GRADIANT, trying to protect information security by using AI. Actually, we are doing lots of things, but in order not to waste your time, I will refer specifically to two items. One of the technologies we are working with at GRADIANT is biometrics. We have biometric solutions, face, voice, and signature. Let me now discuss just the face biometrics. Our solution can be used for cybersecurity, naturally, in order to verify identity, to have access control, Basically, someone says that they have a given identity, and in order to prove it, they show their face, and the biometric system uses an algorithm to determine whether there is a match with the user that was logged into the system. The biometrics I'll refer to is traditional. But for many years now, there's been AI and machine learning used ancillary, meaning that it is used in order to have some working parameters, to decide what's the optimal threshold to decide whether a face belongs to the user or not. And it's also used to see whether an image or a picture has a face or maybe not, because if there is no face in it, it wouldn't work. This biometrics works nicely on cell phones, and it can take spoofing attacks where they try to use a picture or video, etc. Some years ago, in line with what other groups were doing, we decided to see whether machine learning, well, on top of machine learning, traditional machine learning, maybe we could also use deep learning. And for that, we used convolutional neural networks, and from the beginning, the features, the results were very good. One of the problems we came across was the model with the neural network program that was trained was huge. We could use it for a server, but we could not fit it into a cell phone. Still, it could be used for digital onboarding processes where you need to have an ID and your picture, and that way you can prove you're a match. This is a match to your face. Can be used for banks or TCPs, etc. From the very beginning, the solution that we developed that is deep learning based, the features were very good. I'm not very good at distinguishing faces, so it beats me. It does beat me. It can see whether there's a match to the ID or not. And I guess in the very near future, it will not just beat me, which is easy, but everyone else. And with time, we've managed to narrow it down, thanks to our research and also thanks to the research by Google or other large companies. This is all about AI and migration towards deep learning in biometrics. Then I should also like to mention another project known as Practices, which is been funded by the European Union as part of the Horizon 2020 framework program, which is very wide, not just technological. It also has quite a large social component. And the idea here would be to detect and make sure there's no radicalization, especially in jihad terrorism. As for us, GRADIANT, we need to classify the contents, and that's what we do. It is quite basic. We need to classify whether piece of contents can be picture, text, or picture, video, text, whether it leads someone to become radical. For that, otherwise it would be impossible, we have sociologists, linguists, and law enforcement representatives from all the states that joined for the project. More technically, then about image and pictures and videos that are based on the detection of some objects or symbols that are common for guys films, such as the caliphate flag or other symbols. Well, we can detect other actions that might be carried out in all those films or videos. I will not dwell on that because we all know what we refer to. Let's hope we don't have to see many as part of the project. And there we'll be using deep learning techniques because we've seen they do work, but for text processing, we will not have a large amount of texts that are tagged and are about radicalization, because those are linguistics experts looking into lots of text, but they will not give us thousands of texts for deep learning as it would be needed. So we will be using traditional machine learning methods that work better with shorter amounts for training and validation. That's what I wanted to share.
And last, we have Vicente Matellán. He is a researcher at the University of León. He is subscribed to the Applied Sciences Institute for Cybersecurity. He works in robot security and autonomous system security, and he is also director of the Supercomputación Center of Castilla and León. Well, I will focus my presentation on 2 points. First of all, I will refer to my background as a researcher, and then I will move on to the institutional aspect, because I am the responsible director for the Institute of Supercomputation here in León. Well, I would like to demystify AI somehow. Well, artificial intelligence is not new. I joined the artificial intelligence department 25 years ago to do my PhD, to follow my PhD. Then we went into a valley, and now we are up again. So surely we'll go down in the future. Well, now we have very powerful, important companies that have made significant investments on it, and today we are talking about machine learning and deep learning. Google and Facebook have developed deep learning, so now everyone can develop an application. We all have a hammer that we use to hit on everything. But this is not the thing. There are some, all these techniques are not good for everything. So artificial intelligence has been there for a long time. It will continue to be there. Another additional problem is that when it comes to artificial intelligence, when we develop an algorithm or several algorithms, reinforced or not, supervised, neural, when we prove that those algorithms work, we immediately stop considering it artificial intelligence. Well, if 30 years ago you tell someone that a machine wins you when you play chess, well, they think that the machine is intelligence. So we don't think about that anymore. So we have overtaken that, and we have put those algorithms in the stack of things that work. The same goes with neural networks. We have managed to package them. They are really good at detecting patterns, as Juan mentioned before. We also discussed that yesterday. They are very, very good at detecting sophisticated patterns, and also in the industrial sector. So in the industrial sector, they produce a model, they count the zeros, they count the maximums, the minimum, and then it carries out the optimum control for you to control the system. But when you cannot produce equation for that, well, humans are not to be modelized. When we cannot do that, we introduce artificial intelligence. That's the problem. We have a number of algorithms that we develop. They resolve problems for us, but those algorithms are not good for everything. We have to continue making progress, moving forward. They will not replace us all through a big neural network, because they are not good for everything. So in our group, we have worked with robots. If we really, well, everyone has a Roomba at home, vacuum cleaner. We have cars with artificial intelligence. If we want that to be widespread, the cybersecurity has to be embedded with its artificial intelligence, with the system making that device an autonomous device. And this is my view, my perspective of artificial intelligence. Now I will wear a different hat, and I would like to address you as the director of the Foundation for Supercomputing. I've been working on that for some months now. So we have opened up our foundation to those type of problems. Well, supercomputation centers often are discussed, well, I don't know, classic and science things. So, for instance, they have lots of researchers calculating proteins or working on genetics. So now genetics is being done with supercomputers. Well, the same goes for weather forecast. They have always been using supercomputing. So nowadays, researchers also working on artificial intelligence. In order to train our neural networks, we really need a great deal of machines. You no longer can train a network or evolve deep learning with one PC or 8 GPUs. You really need to have hundreds or thousands of cores. That is to say, supercomputing, because we have giant data sets. So we are an infrastructure, we are a researcher at the service of researchers and companies, because there is no other way to do it. But there are very many other applications to it. Well, the Supercomputación Center in Castilla and León, it also operates the we also control the other research centers. We are the red iris, and we want that network to be as secure as possible. That is to say, detecting patterns, finding possible threats. That is also part of our field or our scope, and also intelligence models, as has been discussed here. So the probes that we have, the large number of probes that we have, produce data that we want to analyze. Those algorithms that allow us to detect threats need to be supercomputed and analyzed. And then at the end of the day, we need to have a human hand signing the analysis of that pattern, because the evidence that you get from algorithms need to be certified by humans. So we still need a human person. We still need humans. Well, humans will not go away because artificial intelligence is not that well advanced, and because, well, our legislation does not allow us to get rid of the human element either. Thank you very much to you all after hearing from all of you. And before we open this debate to our audience, I would like to ask you a question. It's about challenges in cybersecurity, where AI or the techniques that you shared with us about machine learning or deep learning could resolve in the mid and in the short and mid-term. Well, first of all, collaboration strategy. Considering the large amount of data that we are handling in the institution, or when it comes to protecting, securing an environment, we need to use machine learning to correlate those data, identify them, and draw conclusions. That alone is not enough. We can be easily attacked. But if, as Cantao mentioned before, if we are able to use tools to exchange IOCs, tools that are not as closed but open to everyone, and if we transfer all our experience or our set of logs, if we can share them and filter them, then we are ready to apply defensive artificial intelligence in a collaborative manner. So the big challenge is not only to have our own technologies, to have our manufacturers, to have our services of this institution. So we just want to share that, to collaborate with others. Why? Because the bodies do that. Well, the bodies, whenever they share a pattern, they share it, perhaps not in an altruistic manner, but they share it. They are more altruistic than what we do commercially speaking. So the big challenge is to set up an artificial intelligence strategy and to apply it practically through collaborative artificial learning and machine learning. Now, thinking about purely artificial intelligence, one of the big challenges is to embed all the techniques that we are using and how to, because we've been doing artificial intelligence for 40 or 50 years now. We should not focus on a single technique because some systems will embed those techniques to implement the capabilities. It has never been easy. This is not easy. So now if we think about ordinary research lines, well, there is a difference between controlling the wheels of the robot, preventing the robot from bumping into whatever. So, well, there is a difference between understanding that this is a threat, correlating that, planning that, and take action accordingly. So let us say we are at relatively low levels of use. So we have a number of islands that are prone to grow in a hierarchical manner. So we don't know how to do it. It's not a question of pasting it, because we are not fully clear about artificial intelligence. We have neural networks trying to identify and find out how the patterns work. We know how to explore the set of options and to find the best way. But when you ask a psychiatrist or a psychologist about awareness, we just don't know what we are talking about. So we are at a bottom level, at a low level. So moving that up is a high challenge. And the same when it comes to applying cybersecurity, escalating that. Well, we have specific vertical escalations, and then, well, in order to see the level of match of a person, we can do that. However, that application is not good, it's not valid for everything. Now, resuming what Juan and Vicente mentioned, and, well, to say the same in a different way, I would say that what we have now with deep learning started 5 years ago. It was very much focused in resolving problems when we are training our systems with large sets of data. They are very good when in systems we have large amounts of data, we give all those data to the machine learns. In that sense, artificial intelligence, deep learning will continue to find its place. Lots of applications will continue to be useful. But the big problem is streamlining, generalization. Artificial intelligence is not the same as human intelligence. We are far, far away from that. Microsoft has 8,000 researchers working on that because they know that's the challenge of the future. At this point in time, the techniques that we have, the training that we do, whether it is supervised or not, now we are feeding machines with data that are not tagged, but still we could not have generalized algorithms. So the challenge that we have ahead of us, we will continue to work on that, is just to have an actual intelligence machine. Now we have highly specialized systems that resolve problems for us. We feed them with information and they give us proper solutions. Well, 2 points on that. Drawing on what Enrique is telling us about the large amount of data that we need to feed our deep learning machines. In this sense, we hope that we can combine the different machine learning tools that would allow us to reduce the data that we need for the training. So machine learning, deep learning are very good at recognizing patterns, but nowadays they require a significant amount of data to do it. My daughter is 4 years of age. So 2 years ago, okay, she saw a horse for the first time. The next day, she knew what a horse is like. She didn't need to see 20,000 images of a horse to get a feel of what horses are. So we should do the same thing with artificial intelligence. And also in terms of, lots of progress have been made in terms of cybersecurity. Here we are talking about processing of natural language, that is to say, understanding what humans write. So we have made significant progress. Now we can classify texts based on the content. We are also capable of identifying identities in that content, also grammar functions, but still we are not capable of extracting relationships in texts. That would be very, very interesting for cyber threat services offered by cyber detection services. Well, now they have lots of tools to gather, collect information from social media, from the web. They also have big search tools, classifiers, but all that has to go through lots of analysts because, well, they cannot really orientate all those data to graphs, and they cannot do that advanced search. Okay, lots of manual work is still required for that. So thank you very much. Now I'd like to open up this roundtable to our audience. Are there any questions in the audience? Well, this is a question to all of you. So now, with mobile phone, well, we see mobile phones detecting pattern, recognizing natural language, identify objects, they recognize the holder, then scenes. So we have artificial intelligence behind that. Big technological manufacturers, Google, Facebook, or even Apple, releasing disclosing algorithms. What is the position of the Spanish industry, European industry with regard to that? Are we followers or are we leaders? And they also have a significant capacity to gather data, which is essential for deep learning. So what is the position of the industry in Spain and Europe with regard to that? Well, I was just about to mention what you have just said in the last part of your question. That is to say, many of machine learning algorithms require a significant amount of data to be trained. Therefore, having access to those data that Google and Facebook have, which puts them in a privileged position despite their disclosing set of data, pre-trained models. And in the case of GRADIANT, my company, well, when we had machine learning before deep learning, we also did some kind of manual search and training of those algorithms. So like more of handcraft work, so to speak. But now, because we have the pre-trained models of deep learning, those that are being disclosed by others, sometimes we just need to do some fine-tuning, eliminate some layers that are not necessary to replace them with more specific layers for a specific problem. So there is significant room to work, to carry out lots of work in Spain, but at the end of the day we are being led by those big corporations. But not only Spain, but Europe is also behind. So Google, Facebook have won the game through information access, and now they are tapping that. Europe is aware of that, and then within these framework initiatives where we are trying to balance that, but we are still lagging behind. Yes, I also share other speakers' views. Well, if we look at pure research statistics, that is to say, well, publications, etc., well, European and Spanish researchers are doing reasonably well. We are at a very reasonable level, at a good level. However, if we move on to the industry in Spain and Europe, we just don't have an Apple or Google or Facebook that can afford 8,000 researchers. And because we don't have that, we don't have the outcome either. It is true that they had a competitive edge in terms of tapping data. We had operators that could have used it. I don't know whether our legislation would have allowed us to do that. But because they have always had more decisive eco-environments to exploit all those things. For instance, in 2014, I visited one of those artificial centers, and the person who was leading the School of Computer Science there was just back because he had been working in Google for 10 years. So 10 years ago, Google said, I'm going to pay lots of money to this person because he will help me set up AdWords. And then this person was paid to develop AdWords. The year I was there was a crisis in the department because Uber got there and said, how much are you worth? Okay, I pay you that plus one more zero. Okay, so because there had been many people who had been working on that for many years. So we don't have that in Spain. We don't have that in Spain because so far we hadn't had the big companies or startups to raise enough money to make the long-term investments. And then in the end, well, we have the results that we have. And this is not only applicable to Spain, but also to Europe. Germany is doing a bit better, but in this sector, leadership continues to be in the US. So Enrique and myself working academia. So 10 years ago, when we got a paper from the Chinese, we used to say, well, this is not a good paper. But now Chinese papers are at the same level. So the scientific contribution or the research groups are at the same level than the European ones or the US ones. Well, the last challenge of BizNet, which is a competition. Okay, for you to have a feel about the revolution, 5 years ago, 2012, BizNet has lots of categories, okay? A human being, 5% mistake, an automatic system, 26. In 2014, okay, things became similar. Deep learning, 5% human, and 5% automatic system. Nowadays, automatic system, 3.5 mistake or error. So the last competition of BizNet was won by a Chinese research group, and the big ones, Google and others, did not enter that competition. So things are moving to India and to China. So Google and big corporations are starting to open up research centers in Europe, Zurich, Cambridge, and they are here because they see significant challenge. They come here, they open up their centers, but at the end of the day is US technology, US talent. Well, the talent battle has not been lost, but the data battle has been fully lost. I believe that legislation, GRDP, should help us recover some control over data. It is clear, well, that we continue to export talent, both to China and to US. So we either set up something to recover control over data, well, or we die. But we have not lost our battle in talent, not at all. So we have time for one more question? Yes, we have some time. Right. How is a professional in cybersecurity trained in artificial learning, intelligence, and more specifically in deep learning? Well, I mean training, being trained here in Europe. Well, probably by following master's courses in cybersecurity. Some of us take part in that. Well, my university offers one master's course in cybersecurity as well as others. I believe that that's the way to do it. So our master's course is very good in that. Well, actually, at the end of the day, training is about practicing and joining a group on the field. And that's it, okay? You work on it, and then you become trained. But of course, a master's course is always needed. You really need to have basic knowledge. Well, before discussing deep learning, you really need to be aware of machine learning, classifiers, etc. Training continues to be necessary. I know we are doing bad for time, but I'm going to say something in favor of my business, okay? In or our business. In Spain, we have not valued enough PhD training. Well, the industry has never understood the value of having a PhD. Well, when a person finishes at university, gets a PhD, published internationally, that person is one of the most knowledgeable person. But the Spanish industry has never ever valued. Now they are starting to realize the value of it. Well, you're asking me, how do you get trained? It's not a question of taking a pill and learning about neural networks. You really need to be aware of classic artificial intelligence patterns and systems if you want to be a state-of-the-art. In that, you have to hire someone who is an actual expert. There are only few experts because only few follow a PhD. The same as Facebook and Google. They go to a university, okay, they pick a person, they just add a 0 to the wage, and that's it. Well, if you pay peanuts, you get chimpanzees. Same here. If you want to hire someone who has just went to high school and then followed a short training course on cybersecurity, no, that would not be enough. It takes time and money to train that person. So I would like to add something. Google workers, 40,000. Number of doctors, 2/3. So cybersecurity has increased significantly with the self-taught people, the self-taught hackers. I'm not saying that that is moving away, but we are seeing professionalization now. So this is not learned alone anymore. So the value of researchers is being acknowledged. So researchers are now becoming trainers, and there is good long learning training. I am also retraining the military, and we see lots of talent, lots of capacity, and learning capacity. Well, those who are unemployed and a university degree, when they get a training, a one-year training, for instance in big data, they start to be of value to the market. They have learned to program on Python, but still they have followed the right path to apply their knowledge and to go back to the market. So artificial intelligence is helping to reactivate all that, but it seems that everything in the past was learned by hacking your neighbor's network or by watching videos on YouTube. This is not the case anymore. So it's not only about training or learning, but to develop a state-of-the-art product. Mixed groups or interdisciplinary groups are essential. So people trained in cybersecurity, people trained in artificial intelligence or in statistics, etc. And drawing on what Vicente said about PhDs or doctors in our organization, we have between 15 and 20 doctors, and the contribution is acknowledged and highly valuable. So the knowledge is a great contribution to these interdisciplinary groups we are discussing. Well, I don't know whether we have some time for one more question or not. Any questions? So we have to start from school. We have to train those minds. Before you become a PhD student, many things have gone by. So we discussed the speed at which all this is taking place. So as I say, many things will take place before you become a PhD student. So we have to start training minds since high school, since primary school. And we should not forget to include women in that. Well, I teach lots of master courses for technology and for others, so there is still many things to do in that regard. Also, social innovation. We are not talking about academia or academic elements here. So we should not forget all these aspects. We will continue to have people who watch videos at home, and they are very good at hunting down things from home. That has happened, that continue to happen, so we should hurry up. So, as I say, this should be included across education. We should be streamlined in education. So, thank you. We are finishing our roundtable. I'd like you to make a quick conclusion about the future of cybersecurity through AI. Conclusion? Well, more mathematics from school. That's what I do at home. Any type of mathematics. Any type of calculations, multiplications, summations, training our children in mathematics, chess, music, so that they see it as a sport, okay, not as a school duty. Mathematics is a sport, same as basketball, therefore good fun. Mathematics are to be enjoyed. The future of our children is there. Now we have robotic process automation. Lots of administrative jobs will disappear. So we have to help our children develop this type of mind. So when we say that we will see more artificial intelligence in defensive services, and now referring to science fiction, the lover of William Gibson, that in that novel there is an artificial intelligence that hires a hacker which is a human being. He's hacked to attack the corporation which is being secured, protected by artificial intelligence. You share your mind with William Gibson. Oh, that's my conclusion. Well, my conclusion in a sentence. So artificial intelligence has a significant field of application in cybersecurity, but artificial intelligence would require cybersecurity. So, well, we have intelligence for a long time ahead in the future.